Hello, welcome back to Mind Over Madness, where we analyze fictional characters and we kind of break down their mental state and things that kind of led them down the path that they went, which is villainy. Yes, of course, as for this season, we are focusing on villains because who doesn't love a villain, right? So we're kind of just seeing how to get down that mark, and we kind of also compare to reality on how real life some of us are villains, and we go through some of the things that the fictional characters go through as well. So just kind of giving you an eye opener to, I want you to look at people differently. I don't want you to look at people as bad people. I want you to look at people who's been through things and so they do bad things, because again, what our actions are is what takes us down certain paths. And so it just depends on how we react to things. So, of course, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Make sure you like. I will be soon giving out gift cards for our winners. So make sure you participate. Participate is key. All right. So, recapping from last week, remember I said this was probably one of my favorite movies. Just giving you a recap on what it was about. It was about a person who pretty much grew up to be strong. Like that's all that their culture or their society wanted was strength. Nothing else mattered. If you was not strong, then you were weak, and that means you did not mean anything. And so therefore, another society, I guess they were trying to be a part of, was pushing them out because they thought that they was pretty much nobodies. And so that, I don't want to say that make them feel some type of way, but they wanted respect. And so since they was not giving the respect that they felt like they needed, they decided to take the respect. And then they took them down that path of villainy, because if you're not going to give me my respect, I'm going to take that respect. You hear me? So that person, drum roll, Shan Yu, Mulan. And I say that is my favorite movie because I will sometimes consider myself a feminist. As you all know, that I've mentioned, I work in corrections. So corrections can be considered like a tough field, right? And it's a man's field. And so I have to like show that I can keep up with the men. Like I will be on those special teams just because I'm like, I'm not no little girl. I may look little and look like I can't do nothing, but I can do the same thing you can do. That'd be my mindset, y'all. But yes, so of course I love Mulan. Of course Shan Yu was the huge villain in that story. But again, would he have been? Of course, he had been Shan Yu because his name. But would he have been like the well-known Shan Yu if they just accepted his people and gave them the respect that they deserved? That's the question at the end of the day. But I did promise you all something last week. I said I was gonna look up what cultures like grow people up strong, like where that's like a big thing is strength. And y'all, I'm doing the top three that I found out. Remember, I said America A1? They got me. So apparently, the USA is number three. And we're only number three, really, is because of our Navy and our pretty much our military. Our military is what put us at number three. So yes, we don't grow up as little kids, have to be super strong and stuff. But our military apparently is very strong and they take up for the rest of us. So, okay. But number two is Mongolia. Number one, Russia. I don't think I'm shocked with that. I know Korea was part of that. I think they were number like 4 or 5 because, they do a lot of martial arts stuff. So, and they got to be like on point. But yeah. So, gave you what I promised. So, congratulations to all the correct guessers that guessed that correct one. Because again, if it was me and I ain't already know, I probably wouldn't have been able to guess. But kudos to you all for my villain watchers. All right, so moving on to the next one. This next one is almost really similar to the last one. This is a special one for my special watchers that likes to watch certain. I'll tell you next week. I don't want to give it away, but yeah. So anywho, clue number one. I was born into hardship, raised as a slave with no control over my own destiny. That's deep. I'm sure my ancestors felt that one. All right, clue number 2. From a young age, I was told I was special, the chosen one, destined to bring balance to the world. That almost reminds me of the Avatar. I don't know, that reminds me, but we know the Avatar is not a villain, so I didn't give it away. Clue number 3. I was taken from my home, separated from my mother, and thrust into a world of warriors, discipline, and rules I didn't fully understand. That has to be very harsh. As a child, and I'm just trying to think, as a child, if I'm taken from my mother and I'm put into like some hardcore, harsh living of I'm having to be a warrior and stuff, like I couldn't imagine. But if we're flipping this into reality, and I'm going to flip into America's reality because I don't know the other culture's reality, but when I say this one, I think of foster kids or kids that have been taken from their family, but mainly because they weren't being properly taken care of. But still, a child loves their parents no matter if they're given what they need. Anyway, it's unconditional love that they have for their parents, no matter what those parents are doing to them. So just imagine a foster kid being taken away from their parents or their mother, and then being in some of these foster homes where these people don't care for these children. They just get them for a check. And so they abuse them, they use them, they treat some of them like slaves. I couldn't imagine, like, there's just so much trauma as a kid. That's this person's going through. Clue number 4. I was powerful, but power alone wasn't enough. I wanted more control, more freedom, more certainty in a world that felt unpredictable. Mm. Hmm. Is y'all making any guesses? I wouldn't know yet, but I mean, we probably got some phenomenal guesses out there. Clue number 5. I feared losing the ones I loved. I had lost before, and I swore I would never let it happen again. But the very people who trained me, who claimed to care for me, told me to let go. That attachment was dangerous. Hmm. Huh. That, and at this point, I'm thinking this person is still a child, and to be told that, like, to let go of your loved ones, because, and I guess I'm thinking of other movies where it could be your work, maybe the type of work you do, that having loved ones or being known that you have loved ones put them in more danger than anything, and so you have to let them go to keep them safe. Now, I don't know if that was the same in this one could have also been because it said that attachment was dangerous. It could also mean that you can't think clear to focus more on what you're supposed to be focusing on because you're worried about your loved ones. So it can kind of go both ways. You're either protecting yourself and your focus, or you're protecting your loved ones from the danger due to what you're doing. So, but that has to be tough, and it has to be huge discipline. Clue number 6. I didn't understand. Love is not a weakness. And if the power to save those I love was forbidden, then maybe I was following the wrong path all along. Love is not a weakness. Y'all, and don't judge me, okay? I want to say sometimes I disagree with that because sometimes I feel like love is a weakness. Like, I feel like I said in the last clue, sometimes I do feel like it makes you lose focus on things because you're so worried about doing for the other. And so you slack on what you got to do or things like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. For me, I feel like sometimes, I feel like to an extent. But I mean, I guess this depends how much influence this loved one has on you. Clue number 7. Betrayal stung deeper than any wound. I was manipulated, torn between loyalty and desperation, between duty and desire. So this really seems like they are stuck between whatever they're doing for work or career or whatever and their family. How can you choose between the two? Like, mm. Any guesses yet? I still would never, never to guess, but yeah. Clue number 8. In my moment of greatest fear, I made a choice to embrace the darkness, to seek power beyond what was allowed. Because if the light wouldn't save those I loved, maybe the darkness would. Mm. This is that switch, y'all. This is that switch where they making that choice and they're going to go down that darkness path instead of the lightness path. This is that switch I'm talking about. All right, final clue. Clue number 9. But in gaining power, I lost everything. My friends, my love, my very identity. The person I once was no longer existed. I became something else. I became fill in the blank. So this is deep, y'all. This one deep because it the decisions they had to make was so strong that they had to choose those tunnels. Those tunnels was identities for them. So the darkness was this new identity, and the lightness was who they originally was. And so now they feeling like the lightness wasn't good enough to, I guess, protect their family or something. And so now they had to choose that other path, and now that's gonna make them become a whole nother persona. And so that's deep. That's deep. All right. So going over their mental health and traumas, of course, they did have the childhood trauma and loss. So they were born into slavery. Something that was kind of him, but you really didn't get it probably was they were separated from their mother. Here's another deep one. They were later forced to endure her death. So remember the loss of a loved one? It was the mother that they were taken from. As a child, to not only be taken from your mother, but then later watch her die, that is some deep trauma that's like, it's really hard to overcome that trauma. Like really, really hard. Then they had fear of abandonment and control issues. Of course, I feel like in every clue it kept mentioning about the fear of losing the loved ones. So you know that was a big thing for this person. And then that led them to desperate measures, going down that dark path to become darkness. Then they had the manipulation and gaslight. And I feel like every villain has manipulation because, of course, as I said, I think it was probably last or 2 episodes ago, that you really do have to be manipulative when you're on the bad side in order for people to follow you and trust you. And then they did have PTSD. Who wouldn't? All that they went through, PTSD is definitely what they had. That was from the horrors of war, betrayal, personal loss, and it was pushed towards identity shift, which you've seen that happened towards the end when they chose darkness instead of light. So not only was this person a villain, but they were one of the biggest, most tragic figures in fiction. I hope that gives you a clue. So, were they always doomed to fall, or could things have been done differently? What if someone listened to them? Could the chosen one have saved themselves? Deep. So, because I believe this is probably one of the most hardest ones, probably the most hardest for me, I don't know. I am going to surprise the first correct guesser with a $25 gift card. It will be given virtually, so it doesn't matter where you locate it. I can send it to you via email once I see who the first correct winner is. So make sure you comment. Of course, when you do comment and you want to be one of the chosen winners, you do have to also be a subscriber as well. So make sure you subscribe and comment your guesses so you can win this $25 gift card. So again, make sure you master your mind or your madness will